All right, everybody. As you join, find the chat and let me know where you're coming in from and what experience level in real estate investing that you have. Find the chat. If I haven't met you before, looking forward to hanging out tonight and talking some real estate, figure out how to get some deals and make offers that sellers can't resist. So the theory and the thesis behind tonight's presentation is basically how can we create offers that sellers can't resist. Okay. So let's talk about what that. Okay. So normal disclaimer when you're talking about any sort of presentation is, let me just put it out there. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a tax advisor, and I'm not giving any sort of financial advice. This is information based on my experience, and I like to share this information with you so that you can be informed, so that you can then go and talk to your professional and seek advice based on your unique situation. And I'm not looking to raise money or offer a solicitation here. I'm just passing on information so that you can be helpful to you. And so the idea I want you to kind of have in mind right now is, can you imagine what it would be like if you knew how to beat the competition and get even more deals without having to qualify finance? That's something that we'll cover. How amazing would it be if you had enough cash from your rentals to comfortably cover your lifestyle? And you just had so many deals that you were coming at you. You just didn't know how to handle them all because you just had found this source of leads that was just so amazing. I want to show you what that source of leads is tonight. So you're about to discover 3 fundamental secrets, and it's the importance of seeing yourself as a shopper who is going out into the marketplace and just looking for deals. You don't have to buy a deal. You just know that when you find one, you can buy it, and you're constantly making offers. One day somebody's going to accept it, and when they do, you do your due diligence and make sure it's a good deal for you. And we're going to make win-win offers that solve the seller's problem. We're going to actively listen to the seller's problems and make an offer tailored to their needs. And fundamentally, this is a numbers, and you're going to have to go out there and talk to a lot of people. And a lot of people are put off by the idea that have the ability to make that many offers. And that's the function of this business, is you're going to have to talk to a lot of people and be willing to make offers at scale. And so by the end of the presentation tonight, my promise to you is that I will show you how to make offers that you can make money on without having to borrow money from banks, how to find a new lead source of free leads available to you right now. And we'll go over one tonight, and we'll make offers that turn leads into deals. Instead of your offers insulting the buyer, you'll turn those leads into deals. And I'll show you how to avoid sellers who aren't interested in your offer. And for attending tonight, I'll give you my strategy that breaks down my 3-letter option of intent that I use on single family, multifamily, land deals. I use this concept in almost every aspect of my business. And an opportunity for you to learn how to use real estate to create your dream life, because fundamentally that's what we're all here for, is we want to buy assets that creates cash flow to cover our life. But the problem is sellers are not putting their properties on the market to solve your problem. They're putting their problem on the market to solve their problem. And as a investor, what we find ourselves doing is we're putting our offers out there as a buyer to solve our problem, and we're not taking into consideration what the seller's situation is. We have this separation between them versus us, and it becomes a very adversarial scenario. And interest rates are especially high as we record this, and there are a lot of people who are just kind of sitting on the sideline. And there's a huge opportunity right now to make offers and set yourself up for the dip that a lot of people feel like is coming. I think the dip has happened. That is the moment right now. And there's a softening in the marketplace for a little bit, for sure. And now's the time that you're going to buy properties at or near the bottom. As interest rates do come down in the next 2 to 3 years, property values are going to go up even more. We are simply not making enough new housing units for all the people who need to live. So the demand for our product, which is housing, is going to continue to grow. So fundamentally, why invest in real estate in the first? Because we want to own assets and we want to take control of equity. Wealth is built by owning equity, not by exchanging our time. And we want to invest in income producing assets that pay for themselves as they increase in value. And we want to buy assets that fundamentally grow with the price or cost of money going up. And then you can diversify your business across a variety of sorts and earn passive income that you can pass on to your life or pass on to your family, and fundamentally pass these principles of business ownership onto the next generation. And I very much believe that the opportunity is up before us. A lot of people are afraid and scared and sitting on the sideline, and that is the time to strike. When everybody are like, people tend to be like lemmings. We see everybody doing all this stuff, and we see them buy properties, and we see property values going up, and we chase that return. When in fact, what we need to be doing is we need buying things at a discount now. So if you haven't met me before, my name is Paul Thompson. I started investing in real estate in 2015 as a way to get out of my corporate job. I started in single family, and I've moved on now to commercial, and I run my own mastermind and podcast. And I spend a lot of time talking and thinking about real estate. I currently own a portfolio of rental properties in Central Arkansas that largely covers my lifestyle. And I have a business where I lend money out to other people for the do their project. And if you haven't heard my story before, I was a corporate employee, got a computer engineering degree, and I lived an okay life. It wasn't all that bad. I had a professional job, made a good income, happily married, have 2 wonderful children, and I found myself dissatisfied with the fact that I hadn't really bet on what I've been doing is helping somebody else build their dream. And they didn't really care about it. It's not like I was working at a small company that really cared about me and really cared about a little guy. I was just a cog in this machine of a Fortune 500 company. And when the cold equations of reduction in forces or layoffs happened, I would be made redundant sooner or later and be laid off. It wasn't an if, but it was a win. And I wanted to find a way to create another source of income that didn't rely on some third-party company. I wanted to create my own personal economy. And I found that buying real estate was a viable means for me to do that. And I believe it's a viable means for almost everybody out there because there's so much of it. And it's a really simple business in the scheme of things. And you probably relate to this guy. That is oftentimes what it feels like to be at work. You're just chained to the desk and you're exchanging your time for money. And I believe it is incumbent on all of us to find a way to earn an income based on assets that we own. We have to go out and get equity in something so that we're not trapped in this rat race of exchanging our time for money. But there's challenges. After all, you got to face and pay for your lifestyle. You have expenses that you can cover. This is just not pie in the sky stuff. You have real obligations that you need to take care of. And so I think real estate is a really good way to step into this, especially single family, because you can buy a property at a time by working nights and weekends and some phone calls. That's how I did it. And that's how I helped a lot of people do it. And there are some fundamental aspects of making offers that we're going to dig into now. And it's making offers and it's just a surprising thing that you make 10 offers, the first 10 don't get accepted, and you shut down because you're worn out. Most of your offers will be declined, and consistency will beat into. This is something you're going to have to decide to do for the next 3 to 6 months to see any kind of activity. And one of the ways that I overcome that is some of the challenges you face with sellers who don't want another cash offer from an investor. That's lowball and insulting, is making a 3-letter option of intent offer. And so you make offers at scale, and each offer is broken down into these 3 options. We do one that is an all cash offer based on the traditional cash-based offer. So if the property is worth $200,000, you're probably making an offer something in the order of 80 to 100. It's insulting. It's low. Most sellers are not in an offer because they want to get a decent amount of money for their property. Understand them. So the way we soften that blow is we give them 2 other options. One is by making an offer that is owner financing with interest only payment. The third one is owner financing with principal only payment. And we're going to dig into that just a little bit more. But the secret here is making offers at scale. And anything right now that is keeping you from making an offer is the thing you need to work on. So drop in the chat, what is keeping you from making an offer right? Think about that for a second. Why can't you go to Zillow right now in your market and find a property and make an offer tonight? Throw out some real reasons what keeps you from thinking about doing that. Is that you don't have enough money? You don't know how? You don't know what the cost of repairs are? You don't have a team. What's your reason? And these are legitimate reasons. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make fun of you, but what are those reasons? And whatever those that's keeping you from making that offer is the thing that we're going to solve. Nigel says a lack of cash to purchase. If only we could make an offer where the seller allowed us to finance it. But it's a good reason. I'm not making fun. So Susan also says a lack of liquid cash. Any other reasons? These are fine reasons. Is it not knowing how? Is it not knowing if it's a good deal or not? Anybody else? While you're saying that, keep adding those comments in there. Here's a little more detail on the 3-option letter of intent. And again, I use this for nearly every aspect of business I'm involved in. When I'm negotiating with somebody, I'm almost always giving somebody 3 options so that we can negotiate terms, so I can figure out what the other side actually wants. So in a situation of a single family house, often a seller is getting offers from investors that are 50 to 70% of the retail value of the property. And if it needs a lot of work, it might be even less than that. So we kind of understand that. Like we take what we believe the house is worth, we give it some sort of discount value to be able to make some money. We take off repairs. And so a $200,000 house, we might make something like an $80,000. That is insulting to a seller. Mostly, I mean, it's not worth $200,000 right now because it needs repair in a lot of cases. But it may be worth 130, and you're making 80 or 90 because you want room for a profit. Understandable. The second offer is seller finance, and it's where you make an offer something in the order of 70 to 85% of the retail value, and you only put a 5 or 10% down payment down, and then you are willing to. And then you tell the seller, I'll pay 4 to 6% interest only payment. And then the balance will be due. And we'll go through a little calculation about this in a second to show you the math. Option 3 is the other extreme. A seller financing offer at near their selling price, $90,000 to $100,000 times, or with a 10% down, 5 to 10% down, whatever makes sense for the deal, the least you can get away with. And then principal only payments, meaning it's interest, it's no interest. I'm making all principal, and then I make those monthly payments until paid. So here's an example of a property that is 170 grand. The market rent is 1,400, and the property's in good shape. So this one does not need repair. And this is something that we actually do a lot with this 3-option letter of intent. We make a lot of blind offers to properties that we know are in, because we don't have to go and figure out how much the repairs are because it's already in good condition. And so we give them an all cash offer that's something like 70 or 30% off. Option 2 is we make an offer at something like 85% of the value, and we agree to put about $7,000 down, which is about 5%. And then we tell the seller that we will pay 5% interest only payment, which works out to be about $550 per month with the balance of the principal being paid off in 10 years. So it gives us 10 years to hold the property, let it appreciate. And we're not paying down any debt in this case, right? We're only doing interest, but it allows us to get an interest rate that's lower than the market right now, but perhaps competitive with what the seller might be able to get in the marketplace with their money against a property that they already own. Option 3 is a purchase price that's near the retail value. It could be 100%. In this case, we did like 99, 95% of this sales price, and a 10% down payment with 250 equal payment. I think works out to be about $500. So that's no interest payments. I'm just making you payments for the next 250 months, 20 years, right? So when I present this offer to the seller, I'm now not insulting them with a $115,000 offer on a property that's worth 170 grand that needs no work. It's a very low chance of that converting. However, I can say, I can get close to your offer of your value of the property of 170. I'll make an offer at 165, 10% down, and I'll make you payments for the next 20 years, and you'll be the bank. How does that work for you? Which of these is most to your liking? That's the kind of conversation we're having. And based on their answer, we actively listen. Based on their answer, we can then figure out which one of these is actually most. What do they really want? Do they want the most they can get for their property, which is like 165, or do they just want a quick and easy transaction, all cash? And so I'm giving them options, either my price, your terms, or your terms, my price. And what this does is it creates a spirit of cooperation with the seller, and it softens this kind of insulting low ball cash off so many trained to give. And we need the price of the property at that price. Otherwise, this doesn't make sense. It gets you and the seller trying to solve the problem. So instead of becoming adversarial, remember the problem we have with this adversarial relationship? Now we're on this side of the table trying to solve the problem together. How can we make this? I put out 3 different options. Which of these is most to your liking? And when the seller feels like you've tried to solve their problem and they feel heard, now they feel like their problems have been understood. And you're positioning yourself as a unique solution to their unique problem. And it completely recasts the relationship. That is often the case with a buyer and a seller in a real estate transaction, where it's a push and pull, and one side wins and one side loses. We try and create win-win scenarios here. So one of the challenges that I often hear with not being able to do this is that people don't know what the value of the property. So I say, go make an offer. Like, well, I'm not sure what the property's worth. Well, thankfully, that is something that we can do by going to Zillow and getting good, or a realtor or Redfin or Trulia. And we can get, even with public data, we usually can get a pretty good sense of what the property's value. And then estimating repair cost is usually, in the handout that I give you will go into this in some more detail, but basically what I do is a lot of times I'm looking at pictures from a listing or from Craigslist or from Facebook Marketplace or a FSBO site or from a property management website. And I get a pretty good sense what kind of condition the property. And based on that, I can make a formed assumption to what I believe the value is worth or the rehab cost. And again, we're making a 3-letter option of intent offer. It's not binding. We're just throwing some numbers out there to see if we're in the same ballpark. We're opening up the conversation. So there's no sense in spending 3 days calling contractors, getting quotes, and getting all these repair costs when you're not even sure you're in the same ballpark with the seller. You're not even under contract. We're just trying to have a conversation. And a lot of times the people we're trying to reach out to, we're doing it at a large scale just to sift through people who want to call us back. And the significance of making offers contingent on a physical inspection. So once you do get this property, say you send out the 3-letter option of intent and they like one of them, or you negotiate and you kind of change the terms a little bit, you send them a purchase and sale agreement. With that purchase and sale agreement, it's subject to inspection. Oh, Mr. Seller, you've sent me pictures. I've seen your listing. Based on what you're telling me, the property's in great condition. I'm sure there won't be a problem, but obviously before we buy a property, we're going to get it inspected. So we'll get an inspection, and then 10 days later, we'll let you know if there's any surprises. If there's some surprises, we'll come back to the table and figure out how to make it work. How's that sound to you? Of course, you're going to do an inspection. Like it's really be ludicrous or crazy not to. You're going to buy a $170,000 investment property and not go and look at it. So this gives you an out in the event that you're back in a napkin math and assumption for some reason we're way off and there's a big surprise. Well, if there's a big surprise, now they've gotten to know you. You're a nice guy. You're just trying to solve their problem. I'll be happy to buy this property for you. But did you know that you have black mold in the basement? I had no idea. Did you? So now, okay, let's see how we can solve this problem. What are we going to do about it? And that way, when we do find surprises in the inspection, if we do, then we can negotiate a better price to see if. So let's do an actual real offer. So you can go to a property like this. These look like apartments. I want an actual house. Here's a duplex. I wonder if they give us the address. All right, we may just go to Zillow. Do like Tulsa, Oklahoma, property that's for rent. There's one. So we have an address. We're going to take that address. We're going to put it into a little calculator. Okay. And this property is renting for $16.95. It's up there. So rental is $16.95. Let's see if it will tell us what the Zest property. And yes, the Zestimate is just an estimate. So sold for $95,000 12 years ago. So it's probably worth, let's just be generous, it's worth, let's say $180,000. Okay. So this is option 1, option 2, option 3. And so we're going to say this property's in good shape because it's for rent. So it needs at most $1,000 worth of minor touch-ups. We don't want to give a wholesale fee because we're buying it, and this is how we would make offers. So our purchase price for all cash would be $125, kind of insultingly low, right? But if we could get that property for $125, we'd really like it. Or we could buy it for $144, which is an 80% of the value, 5% down. Say let's call it 10% down and 6%. So we would make a 15% cash on cash return. Our monthly payment would be $600. And so you're out $14,400 plus your $1,000 plus another, a few dollars in closing costs. Your DSCR would be 130. Similarly, this one's got a 25 cash on cash return, 10% down, 300, so a 25 years. And cash to the seller at closing is about $16,000. So this property is worth $180, and we're going to make an offer for, let's make it, okay. So now we're making $180,000. We can buy that property for $180,000, put 10% down, agree to make principal only payments for the next 300 months, and make a 19% cash on cash. Let's make this 20. So the cash on cash return drops below that. So let's do 250. All right. Oops, I said 250. All Right. So a 12% return. So this is a real deal. So notice this payment's the same. $648. For a property that rents for $1,695, would you be okay with your mortgage payment being $650? Of course you would. That gives you probably about $200 or so in cash. And now you've bought a nice house that's in good shape and in a probably fairly decent neighborhood, since it's renting for that much in Tulsa. And we could send this offer to them right now. Like, we would go to Zillow, find out who owns this property, send them a piece of mail that looks like the screen, that looks a whole lot like this. Just change those numbers and put that 3-option letter of intent in. Very similar numbers in a market that I don't know anything about. That's how quickly you can make. And at one point, I was making offers like this at pretty enormous scale. I was doing like 40 of these a week. If you were doing 40 of these a week and you did that for 3 months, how do you think the likelihood of you getting a deal in the next 3 months is pretty high? It's a whole lot more likely than if you weren't doing it. Well, the real world opportunity here is you can do this with all the property management websites that are in. There are tons of properties for rent, right? At any time in the market, there's properties that are for rent, and there's an opportunity there because most of them just want to rent their property. But some of those landlords would really just like to, they'd be happy to sell the property and just get the cash flow from the owner financing note that you set up for them, and you take care of the tenants and toilet and termites, right? So as a responsibility, what you want to do is you want to catch a landlord that's just over it. And you never know when and where you're going to find that until you actually put your offer out in front of people. And so I say this a lot, that you're never going to go places unless you put your offer in front of people's faces, right? So if they don't know that you exist, how are they going to know that you could make them an offer unless you make them the offer? And so I showed this guy, Nicholas, who lives in Belgium, this technique, and he applied this in Europe, which I didn't even know would work, but he figured it would. And he applied the same principle and was able to buy this commercial property that had 3 apartments and a ground floor store. And he's gone on to create an entire business around this model. And he has tons of deals in Europe now. And I'm actually going to be interviewing him on my podcast. And Jason did the same thing not that long ago with using Facebook Marketplace. Using the same technique, he went and found free leads off websites like Facebook Marketplace and gave him offers. And he was just the first one in line because he was willing to go out and do the work. And here's a guy that has to remain anonymous, but he was in this very similar industry that I was in. He listened to a lot of the same stuff that I did, and he was able to craft a very personalized strategy based on the work and that he did based on just listening to this same advice. It's a very simple approach, but I was able to just break it down into bite-sized chunks. And this is what allows him to make offers at scale, because he's like, okay, well, I just need to go find leads. And when I go and find those leads, I use these basic numbers and I use a little calculator and I make these offers. So now that you know the principle behind how to make offers, I have a lead source that allows you to find 15 different ways of finding leads. I showed you 1 or 2 tonight, Zillow, Facebook Marketplace, and creates a customized marketing plan, perform a customized market analysis, and get a deal with the next. Following just these simple principles, you can get a deal. And that kind of, you pick your market and you pick your marketing strategy and you put it to work. And I have a self-paced study program that goes into great detail about how to go about doing it. And I call it the real estate deal. And it's a step-by-step guide that has all these worksheets, including the calculator that I just showed you, and all of the documents that I use in my business. And I have a template that allows you to just plug in the numbers of these deals that you go and find, and then make these offer enormous scale so that you can get more leads turning into deals. And Justin, who happens to live in Tulsa and is a member of my mastermind, started this system 6 years ago, and he's gone on to do hundreds of transactions and has become a very close friend of mine. And he basically said, I just follow along what Paul has done, and he has just followed along and made enormous progress. And Danny is a friend of mine that I think, Jason, you're on the call. You might actually know Danny. He was a part of this course when I first launched it several years ago, and he's done a great job of putting all these things to work. So Nigel asked a question: would you reach out to properties that are managed by a property manager or stick to properties that are owner managed? I would do both. If you go to a property manager website, you're going to have to cut through the property manager, right? And you're going to have to get to the owner. I want to talk to the owner. I just think a property management website is just a great place to go get a whole bunch, because they have two problems. One, they have a property manager who may not be doing a very good job, and they don't really feel connected to their property, and they're not inside and out of it. So a lot of times you can buy a portfolio, or at least some of the properties, from a property manager or a landlord that has a property manager, and they have 10, 20, 40 properties, and you might be able to buy a quarter of them at a time. Jason and his business partner have done that. They've purchased, using seller finance, a variety of groups of properties by doing this very. So the Real Estate Deal Finder course includes the marketing machine, my instant answer library, and the Create Your Offer template that I've showed you, the Design Your Business Blueprint, and the community. Retail value of this is approaching $10,000, and you can make an investment for this for only $9.97 with a 7-day money back guarantee. If you get into it, you don't like it, there's not the values there for you, you can just say you want your money back and keep all the bonuses. And if all this course did for you was help you buy one deal, it would more than pay for itself. If all it did was allowed you to gain access to a new idea or a new nugget of ideas that you didn't know that you could reach out to before, and as a new lead source so that you could find deals for the years to come, would it be worth it? Or if all you did was had access to all the documents that I've pieced together from all of the years I've been doing this business all in one place, would that be worth it? I easily paid $5,000 or $10,000 to an attorney to have all my documents drafted, and that's included in the instant answer library system. And this is a live workshop, and I'm relaunching this for the first time today. And as a member of, or joining this live workshop, or if you get the replay shortly after this, when this opportunity is still available, you can buy it for half price at $497 today. And so anybody who takes action now will get access to the mastermind for 1 month. The first 3 people who jump on this offer will get access to the mastermind. The first 10 people will actually get a one-on-one strategy session with me, which I normally charge $250 for per hour. And I'm also going to throw in, for those who jump in right now, the investor success tracker that actually gives you a day-to-day measure of what you should be doing to make offers at scale. So are you ready to make a difference in your life and get a hold of a new strategy, a bunch of documents that you'd have paid an attorney for, and get started actually finding deals when the time is right for real estate that is we've on the down low for right now? And there's an opportunity now to get a hold of deal and build wealth over time, because you own an asset that's equity is going to grow over time. And right now you're getting access to discounted deals with discounted terms, because now people are willing to sell owner finance. I think that's a huge opportunity in today's market. By the way, is the coupon code, important detail, REDF launch. Coupon code to get the 50% off is REDF launch. So make sure it's in the replay. And actually, we could change this real quick. All right. Well, I think I'm going to call it. No more questions coming in. Thanks everybody for attending, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.